beauty of this roster is the next man up mentality. And any night, a different guy can completely just take over games and beat you. We've seen that on several occasions. Rui Hachimura, Austin Reeves, D'Angelo Russell, most recently, Lonnie Walker. And Lonnie Walker was the guy that, he had his struggles, he had his question marks, and he really came up and stepped up huge. And not necessarily do we need other guys to play to that level where you score 15 points in a quarter, basically close out the Warriors. Credit Lonnie Walker for staying ready, being ready, and delivering in that moment, because it's not an easy thing to do. I mean, there are stars that struggle to do that at times, and Lonnie Walker just stepping up in that big moment. But obviously, with that, it just gives the Lakers another weapon, right? You have your kind of 7 core guys in the starting 5, and then you got Rui Hachimura and then Dennis Schroeder. Well, now you got Lonnie Walker, and that's another guy to pick up. And one of the big reasons why Darvin Ham did that period was fresh legs. And we've seen the Golden State Warriors say, okay, we're not going to beat them with size or anything like that because obviously we're too small. So let's go tiny and just try to run on them. And they had some real success with that, right? They got a lot of just easy layups, just a lot of transition, and Lonnie Walker was able to come in. His fresh legs, his speed, his athleticism, all of that was very helpful in that and kind of matching the smaller size of the Warriors, and then just having Anthony Davis in there to clean everything up. So with that, it kind of begs the question of, like, do the Lakers try to get other guys to kind of step up and wake up, right? So for example, Malik Beasley, and I know Malik Beasley has really struggled. He's been rough and at times almost seems unplayable. He did have some moments of quality defense and just rotations, but for the most part, he's been a big question mark and just really struggling right now. But if you can get him to kind of wake up, and I'm not even saying he needs to shoot 40-50% from 3 and have some monster 25-point game, but if you can just get him to like 3 or 4 threes a game, right? Especially in this game, right? You don't want to wear down Anthony Davis and LeBron James in a game 5, because if you lose this game, you got to go to a game 6 in LA. You have to win that game. And I'm not saying that like, oh, you should just sit LeBron James or Anthony Davis, or that, play them 20 minutes or anything like that. No, you want to try to win this game. If the Lakers can close out in 5, beautiful. But it would be nice to kind of get some fresh legs in, maybe try to get some guys going like Lonnie Walker. Allow other guys to step up in that moment. Now, we need the usual suspects. We need, Austin Reeves to pick it up and continue his performance to carry over from the second half of last game. D'Lo had a terrible game last game. We need him to pick that up. But Lonnie Walker, I'm not saying, you change his minutes or rotation or anything like that, but if you can, play Beasley 10 minutes and, especially with the Warriors going small, and Beasley can give you, 8 to 10 points, that's a huge win. There's another guy that's contributing, and hopefully he can wake up. And look, at the end of the day, if you can get Beasley going, he's a guy that can get hot and completely change the tide of a game. That is valuable. That's why the Lakers wanted him. That was one of the big draws and appeals to him, that he's really hot and cold. And it just seems like since he's been with the Lakers, he's been mostly cold, right? And that's been a problem. But his most success was earlier on when he came with LeBron James and D'Angelo Russell. Not saying you start him, but if you can get him in lineups with LeBron and D'Lo, maybe you can catch that fire and maybe you could see him step up. We've seen him do it like the Pelicans, right? He had that Pelican game where he went off for like 25 points. He had a Warriors game where he went off and gave I think it was like 20 points, something. I hit like 6 or 7 threes. If you can get him going, that just adds so much value and another weapon that the Warriors just aren't game planning for. That was one of the values of Lonnie Walker, is that he stepped up. Even Draymond was saying, hey, man, we didn't expect Lonnie Walker to beat us. You got to tip your hat to him. He showed up. He stayed ready. He got it done, right? So they're not game planning for Lonnie Walker. They're not game planning for Malik Beasley. So if you can insert him into the game, they're going to very likely try to keep a body on him. But if you run some sets and get him some quality looks, he's a guy that can get going, right? One thing, especially in the Memphis series, he was only averaging like three and a half shots per game. I don't even think it was that many. I know at one point it was like 2.5, but he had a couple of like those garbage time minutes where he just like shot up like 6 threes. But for the most part, in the time that he played, he's only getting like 3 shots, where it's hard for anybody to get in rhythm, and especially a guy that's a streaky shooter to come in and, light it up on 3 attempts, right? So you'd have to get him some looks. Now, it comes down to Beasley and his ability to knock down those shots. See, the reason it worked with Lonnie is Lonnie hit those shots, right? And that's what was massive. But if he can come in and hit a couple shots, and again, very short leash, keep him on a very short leash, get him a couple quality looks. I'm not saying you play him 25 minutes or anything like that, unless, if he's shooting the lights out, then yeah, sure, let him keep going. If he's got 25 through the first 3 quarters, sure, let him keep going, let him get some run. But beyond that, most likely he's not going to have some like crazy monster game, especially with how poorly he is shot. But you also never know. Sometimes, again, streaky shooter, all of a sudden he picks it up. And with this team going small, I do think there is an argument to be made for a Malik Beasley or a Harrison, right? Get a Shaq Harrison in the game. Harrison has looked really good in the moments that he's played defensively. He's hit some shots. Maybe he could build some confidence. I've seen some people throw out like, hey, do you think we should get Max Christie? I wouldn't personally. And I love Max Christie. I've been high on Max Christie. When we drafted him, I was like, dude, this guy is amazing. I was talking about how he might be our best on-ball defender. And then he looked like it. Maybe not so much anymore because you got like Jared Vanderbilt and stuff, but he's still a great defender. There's an argument to try to get these fresh young legs in here because the Warriors are just going to try to run us out of Golden State. They're going to try to run us back to LA and carry this into a game 6. So if you can get some quality minutes from a Beasley, a Shaq, a Lonnie Walker, right? Or even like a Troy Brown. Maybe you give Troy Brown another shot. Defensively, Troy Brown has been one of the better defenders. He had some success on Klay Thompson, especially in that first game that he played where, he was getting some quality stops on Klay. And then in the second half, he just stopped fighting through screens. I don't know if he just got overly confident or just lack of experience or just lack of effort. I don't know what it was, but it looked rough, right? And it was like, man, like he was doing so well in that first half. What happened to him in that second half? And him and Beasley kind of now falling out of the rotation. Lonnie Walker's stepped up and he's been great. And you have Dennis Schroeder, you have Lonnie Walker, you have Rui Hachimura, that kind of 3-headed monster off the bench, which I think could really help and be beneficial. But, like Reeves, are you really going to play him 40-plus minutes? Maybe. D'Lo, are you going to play him 40-plus minutes? Especially if these guys don't have it. Like, if Reeves doesn't have it going, or D'Lo doesn't have it going, like, that was one of the big things. Like, okay, let's insert Lonnie Walker, see if he can get going. And he did. It took till the fourth quarter, but he did. And hopefully he can continue that fire carrying over into Game 5, because the goal is to close out in Game 5. But do you want to burn out LeBron James? Do you want to burn out Anthony Davis? Or do you just say, hey, let's match them for 20 minutes a game? Not saying all at once, but like sporadically throughout the game, and go with the lineup of like maybe like Schroeder and Beasley and Lonnie and Troy and winning or something like that, right? Like you just have like these 4 lineup sets and then have a guy in the middle, or maybe you go LeBron, right? You saw LeBron play some center in the last game, and maybe you go like LeBron in the middle and then put 4 shooters around him. Maybe you have Troy Brown, Lonnie Walker, Malik Beasley, and whomever, pick your poison, Austin Reeves, right? Or D'Lo, something like that. And you have these sets where LeBron's kind of playing the point center, and he's, dishing it out to everybody. You're dumping it down. You're playing through the post through LeBron, and you just got the floor spread, which would allow LeBron to just bully ball to the basket if he wants to, or he could kick it out to the defenders if they come, or kick it out to the shooters if the defender comes to help. It's something that would be interesting that you could look at. That'd be a slight adjustment. Again, you don't want too heavy of a dose of it, unless it's just working. I mean, if it's killing them, stick with what's working. But even Troy Brown, you can get that two-way. He's had some real success and has had some monster games, some great games. He had that one huge game where he had 29 points or something like that. That, again, is the beauty of this roster, is we have 15 guys, 14 guys that can get you 20 points on any given night and step up and next man up mentality. And, again, the Warriors are going to try to do the same thing they did in the last game, in game 4, and that's just try to outrun the Lakers and just get a bunch of points in transition and looks at the basket before the Lakers defense can get set and before Anthony Davis can get into the interior. And the big problem has been the lack of AD minutes, right? When AD's not in the game, the Lakers seem to really struggle. Well, if you go and match them size-wise, you get some fresh legs so that way they can keep up speed-wise, athletically, and then team rebound, all that stuff, you may have some success. I'm not necessarily saying that this is something that they should do or they have to do. It's just a thought for game 5, in which it's going to be that awkward game. We saw it in the Memphis Grizzlies game, right? And Memphis ended up running us out the gym, right? Hopefully that's not the case here. And I think one shift, one change, especially if things are kind of a little rocky, you got some tired legs and stuff, maybe you just insert some freshness, right? Maybe you insert a Troy Brown, a Beasley, a Shaq, something like that, and just try to get some freshness, try to get some athleticism, try to get some, switchability, and just go that route. Especially if you have you could even go a set like Shaq, Troy Brown, you could go Lonnie Walker, LeBron, and AD, something like that, right? And just switch everything, right? Or go Rui, right? Have Rui in the middle, if they're small, say they have Draymond at the 5 and they're going 4 out wide, you could have a set, with maybe LeBron, Rui, Troy Brown, Shaq, and Lonnie, and just switch everything. Right? You got all 5 guys can defend, and all 5 guys could defend all 5 positions. Obviously you don't want Rui trying to defend Steph. That's not ideal, but you could give it a shot. You could try to try to contain as much as possible and kind of fight through that pick and roll that they're trying to play. Again, it's just an option. It's just something. It's just that wrench that you could throw in to kind of surprise everybody. And we've seen some of these guys step up. Right? Because, look, you think Troy Brown doesn't want to play anymore? Of course he does. You don't think Malik Beasley doesn't want to play anymore? Of course he does. So it might be hey, you just had some DMPs. You just saw what Lonnie Walker did. Do you want to just not play basketball anymore? Or do you want to, go out there and perform? And that competitive drive could be the difference. So again, just a thought, just an idea. Not saying it has to happen or it should happen or anything like that. Just something that I think could be worth at least a look, right? And don't be surprised if this is something that actually happens. But and it would be beneficial, right? If you can get Troy Brown going, right, and building some confidence, let's say he knocks down 3, 4, 5 threes, or Malik Beasley knocks down 3, 4, 5 threes. You don't think that that's going to be huge in a game 6 if you don't win this game, or even let's say you do win the game. Let's say Beasley is part of you winning and Lonnie Walker is part of you winning and Troy Brown is part of you winning. You don't think that that's valuable for, the Phoenix series or the Denver series or even the NBA Finals if we get there, right? Of course it is. If you can have another guy that can get hot and give you, 8 threes a night on any given night in Beasley, that's huge. That's why Darvin Ham keeps trying to go with him, because he's hoping maybe this guy will just catch that fire. He's been really rough. He's had his issues. He's a streaky shooter. If you get on the right side of that streak, all of a sudden everything changes, right? And same thing with Troy Brown. Troy Brown has had some of those streaky moments where he's been just lights out, maybe you can get him on that. And now you got a legit 3-and-D guy. So again, I don't think it would hurt, but love to hear your thoughts and opinions. Let me know down in the comments.